Reconnection, epigenetic harmony. In this webinar, I'm going to be working with something that I feel is very, very important, and sometimes it's missed in somebody's system. And it's coming up a lot is where, for example, maybe you were unsafe as a child in the house and nobody was there for you. And in the beginning, maybe there was a lot of uncertainty, unsafety, emotional abuse, maybe even sexual abuse, where you had to dissociate out of the body and you were frozen. So part of you was frozen and captured. And then later on, at one point, usually around 6 or 7, there's a point where you stood up and say, okay, it's like, fuck you all. I'm not safe here. This house is not safe. My mom's not safe. My dad's not safe. My siblings are not safe. God's not safe. And then you come out of your system. And this part for me is a very important part of development stage that we first realize that the house is not safe and mom and dad isn't safe. And if we bypass this stage, we will find that maybe we're creating a business and we become successful. And then when we relax, this destructive part will take over. Or we're in a relationship or a marriage, when we relax, destruction hits the system. And it's like a blazing fire that's out of control. It's ungrounded. So these are fragments of our subconsciousness, which are on fire with rage and destruction that are ungrounded. And this part is very important for me to integrate and not to judge. So in this webinar, I'd like to work with these aspects of ourselves that discovered that everyone is not safe. The world is not safe. I'm not safe. And to honor it and celebrate it, saying, wow, I'm really, it's part of this development stage. It's something to celebrate that you have this new realization as a child that it's not safe. And I'm suddenly getting my own backbone, standing up for myself, that there's no one behind my back. And this is really, really important to integrate. Without integrating this, there is destruction in the system. So this is what this webinar is about. It's about finding, it's interesting, somebody's going by on a bike here. It's to find these aspects of us, fragments of us that have explosion in our system, dissociation in our system, rage, blazing rage. And then we can set up boundaries in a system. I was talking about it there yesterday with somebody. It's like when you go to, I work a lot with ancient codes and different temples around the world. And when you go to an ancient temple or even the church, you see these like really fierce warriors or animals outside, not these loving characters. So for me, this is our gates. It's the gate to the heaven within us. It's the gate to the inner child, the essence of us. And the first gate should have, don't fuck with me, don't steal from me, and if you're coming to my home, behave. So a lot of us have dissociated and we go into people pleasing and we go into playing roles like a chameleon to fit in or not to be thrown out of the community, afraid of being rejected, abandoned, without honoring that there's don't fuck with me, the system at the door. And in this webinar, and if you don't address that, you're going to find that you're in the mind and you're controlling life itself, you're controlling God, and you're not in your center. Also, what I notice is this is the part that brings up disease, different cancers, autoimmune disease, because it's a destructive force which is in the system. So the blood is boiling. So this is in the epigenetics too. So what I want to do in this webinar is that we're going to sit with these moments where your blood was boiling and where you were pushing away this inner child part that's furious with God, furious with the world, and to honor this part and celebrate this part and allow this part to vent and not to judge or shut away, but to celebrate. And then there's an integration and there's a new root in the system, a new connection within your life system, a new connection with the body, new connection with your soul. And this for me is the epigenetic harmony, because from this point, I can truly go into my rightful, honorable soul seat, which is my biological genetic place in this life system, which then activates left-hand side behind me, 2 meters in front of my biological mom, opens up the mother's ancestors. If you're adopted, your soul knows who your biological mom is. So this is how you get into the epigenetic information in a healthy way. Dad is behind you on the right-hand side, 2 meters behind, and that opens up the ancestors on your dad's line. Now, each of the ancestors also have this fuck you in the system and destruction. So I really want to clear those fields and, well, honor those fields first and just sit with them till they feel safe that they've expressed, and then they can integrate, and then you can reconnect again. So it's a reconnection and a harmonization within your system. And to honor, it's in your blood. Often I hear people saying, oh, I know my dad's topics, my mom's topics, but I don't want to be like my dad. And then you say, what are you talking about? You're just like your dad. This is where you realize as a child the faults of your father, and you say, I don't want to be like my dad. Now, there's a piece missing. The piece that's missing is I see what's in him, but I want to change that behavior. Maybe you have changed the behavior, but he's still in your blood. So if your father's fury was in him and you've seen it in him, it's within you first because it's in your blood. We are the child of our ancestors, of our parents. So we have their topics within us, living within our blood. So first, for me, always the first step is to change it in my blood, in my vessel, and then change it behind and draw a line and say that stops with me. But if you say it stops with me and you haven't addressed what's in your blood, it's just going to the same old, same old. You will turn into that exact version of your dad in a stronger way. So this is what I'd like to address within harmony within this webinar and support you to integrate these parts. It's open in the collective field, and it's really the time I feel to address it. It's up at the moment, it's alive at the moment, it's a very destructive field, and it's a very ungrounded field. And this field is the part that destroys lives, relationships, countries, people, finances, and then go back into harmony and go into your creator part with very clear boundaries. No people pleasing, no codependency, self-love, compassion for all around, and reconnection. Reconnection with Mother Earth, reconnection with your essence within your body and in your own spine. This is what this webinar is about. And this is a really, 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 I can't emphasize enough, important piece of the jigsaw puzzle within consciousness is to address this part of your inner child that suddenly wakes up and realizes, I don't trust my parents. And you can do all the spiritual work, all the loving work in the world. And if you have not addressed that part, there's going to be destruction coming up in your relationship, in your work, in your finances, in your health. Let's address it together and transform it together. Thank you for all your support, and remembering you have this power to transform everything within inside you. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.